know how you compete against Ohio State. Like, it was cool for a while that Carnell Tate, and it was flipped, that it was like Carnell Tate, 5-star kid out of IMG and originally from Chicago, who grew up wanting to be a Buckeye, always wanted to be a Buckeye, ended up committing to the Buckeyes this past week, not Tennessee. But, any kid who's just not, if you're a 5-star and you're going to play, like, this is where you go. Like, they are 1,000% wide receiver U. Brian Hartline has built an absolute machine there. And I don't know how you compete against that. It was almost one of the things where it's like, hey, well, be damned if you do, damned if you don't, where it's like, you still got to get in the game, and it looks good for other recruits that you were that close and you're right there. But, like, do you feel, oh, we should have given Kevin Casper more attention because Carnell was always going to be a stretch because he's from Chicago. It's easier for his family to get to Ohio State, and it's just competing against Ohio State in the grand scheme of things. It's just really, really difficult when it comes to this sort of thing. And this man with this class, like, he's put together a lot of 5-stars. The latest two folks saw a lot of down the stretch this past year, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Like, he's an absolute superstar. He'll be a first-rounder next year. You got Jamison Williams in there. You had Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave. But now you get Brandon Inniss, 5-star kid, Carnell Tate, 5-star kid, and Noah Rogers. Like, there is so much talent. They have another 5-star already in the building, and Emeka Egbuka. Like, you go through the wide receiver room, Matt, and Columbus, and it's insanity. Like, so for the folks who talk down, like, the SEC people really don't like Ohio State, and I'm just like, it speaks for themselves. Like, they are a machine. They would run roughshod over the majority of SEC teams. And whether they look at the Ohio State playoff rankings against the SEC, because I think somebody put that up the other day that I saw. I think it was Chris Marler of Saturday Down South about teams in the Big Ten's record against the SEC and maybe bowl games / playoff games or national title games, something like that. But Ohio State's record's obviously like 3-7 or something like that. But ultimately, the broader point is that Ohio State has a Death Star, and this offense is just going to be absolutely disgusting this year. Like, anyone who's taking the under on wins for Ohio State this year, you're just throwing money away. This offense, I don't know what you're going to do, but it's kind of like what Georgia's done with defense, where they just have weapons and 5-stars and 4-stars everywhere, under center, at running back, on the offensive line, at wideout. It doesn't matter. They have blue chippers all across the board, and it's just this latest haul for Hartline and Ohio State is just insane.
Oh, it definitely is. I mean, it's number 3 ranked receiver in the country on Monday, number 1 ranked receiver on Wednesday, and the number 9 ranked receiver on Wednesday as well. Like, it's just absurd what Ohio State does, but they've always done this, right? So, like, I think that's where the hate of Ohio State comes from, is that they are that clear blue chip talented team that just reloads year after year, but they just inexplicably just have one of those games, it feels like, every year where they get blasted by Purdue, they get blasted by Iowa, they can't stop Oregon on the ground, right? Oregon was more respectable than those other two teams, but those specific seasons, but it's just like Ohio State just has those games where it's just they just don't seem to show up. Like, they always have the talent, and that's why it's like, if the Big Ten gets rid of divisions and it's just the 2 best teams, Ohio State might get a blemish somewhere in the season. But if they're in the Big Ten championship, like when all the marbles are on the line, like, they're the best team and they win. It seems like at the end of every season. Like that year, a couple years ago with Harbaugh, like Michigan was what, top 2 or top 3 going into that game with Ohio State, and they just beat the brakes off of them. Like, everything was on the line. Ohio State just blasted them. So, yeah, I don't know why you would go. I don't know why you'd go anywhere else other than Ohio State or maybe Alabama if you're a 5-star wide receiver. It's absurd what they do every year. I mean, it's Hartline. Like, when is this guy going to be a head coach, right? Like, offensive coordinator or something. Like, obviously he's an Ohio State guy, but you got to think at some point he's going to move on to something else.
I don't know. Del McGee still happy doing the running backs coach thing. Like, Rodney Garner's been a defensive line coach forever. Some guys just
I think Del McGee seems like one of those guys it's only a matter of time. Like, he might maybe keep changing his title, and he's associate offensive coordinator or something, running game coordinator or something, give him a little more money, and who knows, maybe that keeps you happy. But
Willie Martinez, he's chilling as a defensive backs coach here, man.
yeah, I don't think anyone was a knock on his door for head coach.
But I think a lot of guys, like, I understand it's a lot less stress. You get to coach one position group and you just focus there. I feel like your life balance is probably a lot better there. I don't know, man. I understand it. I understand why a lot of folks might want to stay in that position type deal. Like, if you're a quarterbacks coach, you're like, I just want to work with quarterbacks. Like, that's my jam.
No, that's
I don't
fair.
really. Yeah.
What gun to your head? Which of those? Because I'm just looking at this. It's insane for a school to have 2 first-round picks at wide receiver, and neither of them led the team in receiving. That's absurd. So, gun to your head: Smith and Jigba, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, and let's throw in Jameson Williams as well. Who's the best NFL player?
I'm going to say Olave in New Orleans.
I think I lean towards Jameson Williams, but as far as the Ohio State guys go, I think Garrett Wilson is going to be the best of the Ohio State guys. He just seems
Name
like
the
that
last
that
good elite receiver since Keyshawn.
Wayne Corbett.
Yeah, there you go.
Did Braylon Edwards?
Santana Moss. Braylon Edwards was pretty good there.
Some years of the Jets. Santana Moss is a good call.
Brandon Marshall.
I don't know where,
but then none of those guys were developed. Yeah.
Santana Moss's best years were probably Washington, I would guess.
He was there for a little bit.
He probably had a Pro Bowl. Probably had some Pro Bowl years, but that's a good call. Lavernius Coles.
Lavernius Cole was a good one. That is a name I have not heard in a long time. Oh my God, Lavernius Coles. Woo, that's a name.
Deep track.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's one of those things where it's a situation where it's like New Orleans Saints receivers do pretty well, and Olave is going to get a lot of targets, especially if Michael Thomas isn't healthy.
Usually have Drew Brees throwing to him.
That's true. Jameis wasn't bad, though.
That's the only thing. We'll see. And Sean Payton. No Sean Payton, no Drew Brees. Things are a little different.
Hey, I'm not sold on it. But I don't love Jared Goff throwing at Jameson Williams out of the gate.
Jameson Williams in Detroit, too, yeah.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe Smith and Jigba can go to a good situation next year.
Let us hope. Speaking of good situations, Louisville